Imagine you're a busy startup founder and you need to raise money for your startup. There is so much at stake. If you succeed, your company and team will grow and thrive. If you fail, however, you will run out of money. You might not be able to pay your employees anymore, and this particular dream will be over. Your team is depending on you to deliver. After some initial meetings with venture capitalists, you get some good news. You've been invited by a couple of the VC firms to come in and pitch all the partners. Now, this is as high stakes as business presentations get. So you need to have a really good deck and deliver a really good story. I see a lot of pitches and help many founders tell their story and raise money. Hi, my name is Marin. I'm a design partner at Gradient Ventures. That's Google's early stage investment fund. And I've seen some brilliant pitches and some terrible ones, and I've also helped founders raise tens of millions of dollars. I'll show you how I use Mural to help startup founders build better pitches and raise money. And even if you're not raising $100 million, these tricks work for any kind of business presentation, whether you're selling an enterprise product to a blue chip customer or presenting a project within your company. Hopefully, you'll learn some ways to use Mural to gather feedback, collaborate, craft better pitches, and sell your brilliant ideas. Let's go. First, let us reflect on how things are normally done and why that leads to not so great results. The common approach would be to start making slides immediately. You work really hard on all these slides, and once they're about 90% ready, you ask a few people for a little bit of feedback. When I work with founders, my first step is to get them to not do this. Don't start by making slides all on your own for two reasons. First, you implicitly define a lot of your story without deliberately thinking about it. And second, if you're working solo, it's hard to avoid your own blind spots, meaning you might work your butt off only to create and tell the wrong story, the one that just doesn't resonate with your audience. So instead, if you were working with me, we would slow down first so that we can speed up later. We would work together to first interview your audience, try a lot of options with a team, prototype an ugly story, and test that. This should increase your chance of delivering a story that will resonate with the investors or whoever else the audience for your pitch might be. I know, this might feel like a lot more work, but in my experience, it's actually faster. So don't skimp on the high-level stuff only to toil away on the details. From the many pitches that I have seen, ugly slides with the right message will raise money. Beautiful slides with the wrong message will probably not. And what's funny is that this approach of getting the story right first is quite similar to how Pixar, the animation studio with a ridiculous track record of hit movies, creates their beautiful stories. So at Pixar early on, a team of only a few people drafts the story on paper, and they draw out the storyboards and then record the dialogue over these static images by doing all the little voices themselves, like a prototype. And they then screen that scrappy prototype movie to Pixar's brain trust of movie-making experts and get feedback from them. This small team repeats the process over and over until the story is great. And only then does that big army of amazing 3D artists and animators mobilize to make the actual movie. We'll do something similar, but instead of paper, we will just use Mural for the whole thing. Let me show you how we would work together if you were a founder raising money. We would go through 6 steps. Interview your audience. Devise the story. Prototype super ugly. Present to your audience. Improve based on feedback. And then we would make the actual slides. If you're quick, this whole process can be done in half a day, and then you only need to execute on the slides themselves. So first, I would have you interview your existing investors or find friendly investors to interview. My favorite questions to ask are, for a round like this, what do investors usually look for? This question is useful because most venture capitalists I know think in rules of thumb. What's the recurring revenue? How much does it cost them to acquire one customer? How big is the market, etc. I also like asking, what do you think investors will get most excited about? This helps us know what to highlight. And then finally, what do you think investors will be concerned about? No startup is perfect, and smart investors know this. But I think that the dumbest thing you as someone pitching can do is hide obvious weaknesses. Investors see companies for a living. They can distinguish real results from spin. So don't spin. Be upfront. Address issues head on and explain how you'll solve them. So first, we will collect that information. So I like interviewing multiple investors at once, and I ask them to first write the answer to their questions in Mural, right here, the yellow post-its. And after that, we can go over their answers and discuss them. I can invite the investors to the Mural via the anonymous link, right here. And that means they don't even have to create a Mural account or have one, although quite a few of them do. So I ask them to just write here really quickly and quietly. You might end up with something like the yellow example stickies in here. And then we can go over their comments and discuss. Now, once you've interviewed 2 or 3 investors, we can triage their answers on the right and see where things overlap. You should have a better sense of what your audience cares about. And this can be done as quickly as 45 minutes total. The next step is devising a story. And remember how I talked about blind spots? Well, the best way to improve the quality of any idea or solution is to jam with a group of people. So we would invite your co-founders or a few of your top employees or advisors to join in the Mural now. And what we would have is up here, I share a few ideas of what content needs to be in the pitch. This depends on obviously what your company is and on what stage the company is in. For example, seed pitch decks often revolve around the team and vision, whereas if you're raising a later round, like a Series B, you'll probably need to show business results. But instead of having long discussions, we just ask everyone on the team to draft their own 7-slide presentation deck that addresses the learnings on the left. This is where Mural really shines. Everyone can work solo together and drop in their thoughts. And you can set a timer, for example, maybe a timer for 5 minutes to keep everyone moving forward quickly. And when everyone is done, you might have results like this. And what you would then do is avoid time wasting and debate and just have everyone vote on their favorite slides with the voting session function right here. And once the voting session is over, I have an existing example, you would easily see the votes and see the crowd favorites. And the final step is you, as a decider, get to pick and choose and have the last word. So you've seen the group ideas and the group vote, but now I would ask you to assemble a 7 to 10 slide presentation from all the material generated. And again, you can go along with which things got the most votes, or pick a few things that aren't popular but you think are important. Again, all this can be done in about half an hour. And it's a great way to generate lots of options and avoid blind spots. And voila, you might have something like this, a thought-out story based on your audience's needs. Next, we would probably have a nice break. And I would probably get some coffee because I run on coffee. But after that, we can prototype the slides in Mural. This is a little bit like wireframes for an app, but we will focus on content, not on how the slides will be designed. My format for slide prototypes is simple. Each slide should have one big message. What would you like your audience to take away from that particular slide? And then you add 2 to 3 supporting points, pieces of evidence that will make them really believe you when you're saying that the insight is true. Now, Mural is not an advanced slide making tool, but in my opinion, that's exactly why it's the right tool for the job. Just like drawing with a thick Sharpie instead of a pencil, you're kind of forced to focus on the big things and not be all perfectionist on the details. So you would literally have each slide have a title, the big takeaway, and 3 supporting points. and then you just make the slides. Done? That's it. If you're now thinking that you would be embarrassed presenting this, I agree. Yet, it's time to do exactly that, to silence that inner perfectionist and present this as your pitch deck. You'll be surprised how much can be conveyed through a scrappy presentation like this. In other words, time to present. I like to do all of this in one day, so I like scheduling the investors for about 30 minutes in the morning, when they've given us the download and all the info we needed to start creating the deck, and then having them come back in the afternoon to see the scrappy pitch. The mode you should be in is not talking them through logic and why you've written down what you've written down. No, just tell the story. Pretend you have amazing slides. And Mural does have a way to present, by the way. So if you add all of your scrappy slides to the outline, I only need to add the last one. So I'll select it here, double click and add it to outline and name it 07 because this is a bogus slide. You can actually go into presentation mode and use the arrow keys to present them one by one, just like a slide deck. Now, I asked the founders to limit the talk track to 10 minutes. We're still working high level here, which also gives us more time to discuss feedback. So while you're presenting as if it was a real pitch, your audience will answer questions in Mural just by dropping in these yellow notes here. After that, you discuss, and then it's your job to synthesize the insights. And the questions I like the audience to focus on are these three. First, what was most memorable? What resonated with you? This way, you'll know what to keep. Next, what was confusing or missing? This way, you will know what to fix, improve, or add. And finally, how can we uplevel this story? This is a direct ask for them to what the most valuable thing would be to improve, uplevel, or fix. And again, I'm fine asking investors to type their answers directly into Mural because it has two advantages. One, you don't have to take notes. It's all going to be there for you already. And two, you can center on the conversation and listen very attentively instead of quickly trying to jot things down. So this is kind of the moment of truth. Once you have the insights and the conversation is finished, you solo can go through their feedback and then get back to improve your presentation, focusing on things like what to remove, how to fix things that weren't clear or that weren't exciting, adding stuff, and up-leveling things that did work and resonated well. So the end result here in Mural is actually having 10 to 13 slides that address all the learnings. And obviously, if you have time, you could present this again and get more feedback until you feel that the story is right to turn into slides. After that, you actually make slides. Now, I won't go into the mechanics of slide making. That's an art and a science all of its own. And there's plenty of YouTube and LinkedIn Learning courses about it. But here are some pointers. First, remember that if you're presenting verbally, the slides should be a supporting actor for you. They help reinforce your talk. They shouldn't distract away from you. So it's smart to think of each slide as a billboard, like here on the right, instead of a dense document like here on the left. If you do have a lot of details to show, I suggest having a lot of appendix slides with all the details that you can jump in. If a VC asks about how you'll spend your marketing dollars in Asia Pacific in September of 2023. But in general, I think the makers of presentations over-index on complexity and adding things just because the details are well known to you. Remember that most things about your startup will probably be new to most partners in the room. So go simple with more detail in reserve in an appendix slide. My second piece of advice is making sure that each slide or each visualization, it's immediately clear what the takeaway is. Otherwise, you're wasting mental compute time of your investor audience. Don't have them decipher a chart. In a second, they should get the main idea. And my final pointer is to end strong. Psychology tells us that people best remember the emotional peak and the last part of any experience. So don't end by just saying like, okay, that's my story, where are the questions? Don't end by just ending. Instead, give a recap to first reinforce what you want them to remember, and second, also guide the discussion that's going to happen directly after this. And practically, what I do is I just export these images from Mural and drop them straight into Google Slides or Keynote, and I just make nice looking slides around that. This seems like more work, but it isn't. you actually slow down at first to speed up later. And what I love about Mural is how you can keep the entire early project all in one place. It's easy for anyone to see how decisions were made and how things fit together. Plus, Mural's multiplayer mode lets you quickly collaborate and iterate with the team. And next time you need to give a presentation and prepare a slide deck, consider using some of these tricks. I wish you tremendous success in selling your brilliant ideas. This whole process might seem like more work, but it isn't. You actually slow down at first to speed up later. And what I love about using Mural is how you can keep the entire early project all in one place. It's easy for anyone to open the Mural and see how decisions were made and how things fit together. Plus, Mural's multiplayer mode lets you quickly collaborate and iterate with a team. So next time you need to give a presentation and prepare a slide deck, consider using some of these tricks. I wish you tremendous success in selling your brilliant ideas.